Your top stories this evening, sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. Documents reveal repeated defect reports on MV Bereimma months before deadly disaster. NANDLALL says protesters have limits, but PPPC use similar tactics while in opposition. Vendor alleges victimization and racism at Leonora Secondary School. Board chair refutes claims. ExxonMobil fully recovers $55 billion investment in STABROEK block. Still to say when 50% shares will reach GUYANA'S treasury. And in sport, KIDZ Football Festival returns. HGP Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Wednesday, August 12 edition of the HGP Nightly News. Here's what we're tracking at this hour. HGP Nightly News has obtained a series of internal records which appear to show concerns over mechanical and electrical defects aboard the MV Bereimma, which were repeatedly documented months before the vessel's deadly July disaster. The handwritten reports dating back to November 2025 through March 2026 identify problems ranging from an out-of-service generator and leaking engine exhaust to overheating machinery, defective cooling equipment, deteriorated batteries, and other repair requirements. Several of the requests were expressly described as urgent and appear to have been forwarded through the Marine Office for action. Here's more. A series of internal records which appear to show concerns over mechanical and electrical defects aboard the MV Bereimma were repeatedly documented months before the vessel's deadly July disaster have been obtained by HGP Nightly News. The handwritten reports dating from November 2025 through March 2026 identify problems ranging from an out-of-service generator and leaking engine exhaust to overheating machinery, defective cooling equipment, deteriorated batteries, and other repair requirements. Several of the requests were expressly described as urgent. Taken together, the records paint a picture of a vessel for which repeated requests for repairs and replacement equipment were being generated in the months preceding the tragedy. One of the most significant documents is dated November 30, 2025. It describes the number 1 generator aboard the MV Bereimma as out of service, reportedly because a water pump was not working and needed to be repaired or replaced. The report specifically asks that the defect be treated urgently. The document also carries a notation directing the outstanding generator defect be addressed. Another report from the same date requests attention to the vessel's port main engine heat exchanger or cooler, stating that it was operating at a high temperature. The handwritten document records temperatures of approximately 179 to 203 degrees Fahrenheit and asks that the development be treated urgently. A separate November 30 report called for welders to address a leaking exhaust on the starboard main engine, stating that exhaust gases were leaking into the engine room while the engine was operating. The shore chief engineer's handwritten response on that document also called for the defect to be attended to urgently. Another document describes an electrical incident aboard the vessel while it was alongside the Port Kaituma landing on November 28, 2025. According to that report, the lights on the vessel went out. Checks allegedly found that the connecting wire inside the changeover panel from the shore current to the generator had burnt out, while a connector was described as being completely burnt, making reconnection impossible. The crucial questions are: which defects were repaired, when those repairs were completed, who certified the work, and whether any remained outstanding when the vessel sailed in July. The Guyana government has said that an estimated 179 persons were aboard the MV Bereimma when it sank. 73 bodies have now been recovered, with 69 of them positively identified. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. Attorney General NANDLALL says protesters crossed the constitutional line when they disrupted lawful meetings of others, but the warning echoes similar tactics used by NANDLALL's very party while in opposition, when its supporters blocked venues, confronted government officials, and interrupted an address by then-President David Granger. Here's more in this report.
Attorney General NANDLALL says the constitutional right to protest does not permit demonstrators to obstruct political meetings. It's a position now being tested against the People's Progressive Party Civic's own conduct while in opposition, when its supporters blocked entrances, confronted officials, and disrupted an address by the then-President David Granger. Speaking on issues in the news on Tuesday, NANDLALL relied on Article 147 of the Constitution, which protects freedom of peaceful assembly, association, and demonstration. He drew reference to the government's Model Village initiative.
Something must be wrong with you not to want this in your community, in your village.
The Attorney General argued, however, that protests cannot prevent other citizens from attending a political meeting or interfere with their right to assemble.
Any political leader that is opposed to his or her supporters being the beneficiary of these community developments is inimical to his supporters.
The Attorney General warned that protesters can lose their constitutional protection if they become threatening, disorderly, or unlawful. He pointed to laws governing disorderly behavior, riotous conduct, and unlawful assembly.
But in the exercise of your right to protest, you can't interfere with the other people's right to assemble, to attend the meetings. They have an equal right like yours.
In March 2019, then opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo publicly urged PPP supporters to quote-unquote chase President Granger and government ministers from their communities after the constitutional deadline the party maintained had been triggered by the then no-confidence motion vote. The PPPC also organized protests at other venues where Granger appeared, including a graduation ceremony at the Saraswati Vidya Niketan and at an event at the Arthur Chung Convention Center. Javon Vickery, HGP Nightly News.
Meanwhile, Attorney General NANDLALL says public scrutiny of the Caribbean Court of Justice is legitimate, but a reported social media post describing its president, Justice Winston Anderson, as a cockroach crossed the line from criticism into a degrading personal attack. Here's more.
Attorney General NANDLALL has condemned a reported personal attack against Caribbean Court of Justice President Justice Winston Anderson, arguing that legitimate criticism of the regional court must not descend into abuse of its judges. Speaking during his weekly program Issues in the News, NANDLALL singled out a Facebook post attributed to Wynn Regional candidate Mark Oren, who allegedly referred to Justice Anderson as a cockroach. The Attorney General's intervention comes amid controversy over leaked internal correspondence reportedly involving CCJ judges and allegations concerning Justice Anderson's leadership and administrative style.
While persons can make public statements about the court and its members, even critical ones, they are obliged by law to do so respectfully and not to subject the court or its members.
He argued, however, that criticism should engage with decisions, conduct, and institutional issues instead of using degrading language against individual judges.
To do so would bring the administration of justice into disrepute and indeed constitute a contempt of court.
NANDLALL also pointed to a joint statement from Caribbean judicial heads expressing concern over the unauthorized disclosure of confidential correspondence and reaffirming confidence in the CCJ.
This is a grossly disrespectful and scurrilous attack upon the President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, the highest ranking judicial officer of the judiciary of Guyana.
The CCJ serves as Guyana's final appellate court and determines some of the country's most consequential constitutional, civil, and criminal cases. Meanwhile, the Regional Judicial and Legal Services Commission, RJLSC, has acknowledged allegations concerning CCJ's president and says a transparent and independent review will be undertaken. Marvin Cato reporting for HGP Nightly News.
A clarion call is being made for CARICOM states to step up their efforts in support of the region's candidate ambassador, Caroline Rodrigues-Burkett, as she vies for the United Nations top post. Marvin Cato reports.
In an editorial appearing in the Jamaica Gleaner and seen by this newscast, it was highlighted that the United Nations Security Council, now in consultations to select the organization's next Secretary General, a plea is being made for CARICOM states to step up their efforts on behalf of the region's candidate. This call is made on the backdrop that, thus far, Ambassador Rodrigues-Burkett, Guyana's permanent representative to the United Nations, appears to be the better liked of the candidates among the wider global community and, by inference, within at least a plurality of the General Assembly. However, the editorial noted that where the selection of the Secretary General matters most among the 15 members of the Security Council, she marginally trails the Costa Rican diplomat and former Vice President, Rebecca Grispan. In a secret straw poll among Security Council members at the end of July to test their initial reactions to the 8 candidates, 5 of whom are women, Grispan secured 10 encouraged votes, 4 no opinion votes, and 1 discouraged vote. Ms. Rodrigues-Burkett received 9 encouraged votes, 2 discouraged votes, and 4 no opinion votes. Notably, at an earlier candidates debate at the General Assembly, which was also broadcasted digitally, 49% of those present felt that Rodrigues-Burkett was the most effective presenter, placing her decisively ahead of her competitors. Grispan was second with a mere 14% of the votes. At a recent town hall event, Ambassador Rodrigues-Burkett reminded that the global landscape has changed and the tools required to guide the organization must likewise evolve while being principled, pragmatic, and responsive to its needs. She said while the organization must improve in its functions, it must remain faithful to its founding principles. It is the support of the Security Council, particularly its 5 permanent members, the United States, China, Russia, Britain, and France, that is decisive. While the General Assembly formally elects the Secretary General, it does so on the basis of a candidate recommended by the Security Council. In that regard, securing the backing of all the permanent members is crucial since support from a majority of members can come to naught if a permanent member decides to exercise its veto against the preferred candidate. The Security Council will continue the straw polls, prompting less favored candidates to drop out of the race before moving to the phase in which signals will be given to the remaining candidates about who is likely to attract sufficient support. The current process could continue into November before the term of the incumbent Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, ends in December. The new UN head will take office in January 2027. If Rodrigues-Burkett becomes the UN chief, she would be the first woman and the first Caribbean national to hold the job. She would assume the post at a difficult time for the organization, which faces financial constraints and waning commitment to multilateralism among some global powers, especially the United States. Marvin Cato reporting for HGP Nightly News.
Thank you, Marvin. Stay with us. There is more news ahead.
Welcome to SNL Electrical Inc., where lighting's and electrical needs are met with expertise and style. From the latest in electrical lamps to durable cables, circuit breakers, panels, we have it all. Illuminate your space with our elegant chandeliers, stunning crystal lights, and versatile pole lights. Looking to upgrade your comfort? Explore top-of-the-line AC units and our diverse selections of stylish styles. Visit us at 170-180 Thomas Street, Kitty, Georgetown. Discover solution that not only lights up your world but transforms it. Call us on telephone number 226-3018 or 223-1634. SNL Electrical Inc. powering your life with elegance, quality, and care.
Honestly, when I first started, I didn't really think of myself as a leader. But then I joined ExxonMobil Guyana, and little by little, year by year, I grew into that role. Watching the next generation learn, then seeing them build their careers in the oil and gas industry and at ExxonMobil Guyana has been incredibly rewarding. Seeing so many young women who remind me of myself when I first started and knowing that I played a small part in their journey is what Build Her really means to me. Build Her, building the future of energy in Guyana.
Krishna Rolf Establishment. No job is too small or too large. We specialize in all types of fabricating machinery, excavator repairs, rice field pumps, and hydraulic hoses. Visit us at Lot 113. Block CC, Manripo, East Coast, and Marara, or call 220-9624-629-4021 or 619-7880. At Krishna Rolf Establishment, no job is too small or too large.
Welcome back to the HGP Nightly News. We tell you now that a major cleanup exercise is underway at the Bourda market, where the Mayor and City Council says years of clogged drains, sewage problems, and indiscriminate waste disposal have created conditions that can no longer be ignored. Vending along a section of Rob Street has been temporarily suspended as the municipality moves to restore the area, and officials are warning that the shutdown could last longer than initially planned. We have more on this story. The Georgetown Mayor and City Council has launched an aggressive cleanup rehabilitation exercise around the Bourda market area, temporarily forcing vendors off a section of Rob Street as municipal officials move to address a serious sanitation and public health concern. The 3-day exercise is targeting accumulated garbage, blocked drains, and long-standing sewage problems in and around the busy market area. As a result, vending has been suspended along Rob Street between Alexander Street and Orange Walk. City Hall workers dismantled a number of makeshift vending structures. Here's Mayor of Georgetown, Alfred Mentor.
The place was not as clean as it should. There are a number of issues concerning the sewage that we had to treat with. There's a number of issues concerning water and other things concerning the drainage that we obviously had to address. And weren't able to do that because the vendors were blocking these particular access as well as over the drains and so on and so forth. So we decided to take a decision of the council to address it and to clean up this place once and for all.
The council is also working alongside the Guyana Water Incorporated to address sewage-related problems while municipal workers clear blocked drains. And while the initial exercise is expected to last 3 days, Mayor Mentor warned vendors that their return could be delayed if additional work is required.
Even though the 3-day itself spoke to what we plan to do, which is relates from checking with the sewage, checking with the drainage, checking with the water and all of that, we will ensure that all of those things are fixed and put in place. So the 3 days itself is a cleanup, but we have to put other remedies in place before we eventually cause those persons to come back here and sell.
He stressed that protecting public health must take precedence over commercial activity, particularly where food is being sold.
Regardless of selling, sometimes we got to stop prioritizing economics over health. Even though we might say 3 days, it could be 6 days, it could be a week, it could be a little bit more than that. But the priority has to be the health of the citizens.
The mayor said vendors will no longer be permitted to rebuild permanent makeshift structures. Instead, those allowed to return temporarily will be required to operate using collapsible tents and tables. City officials maintain that they are not attempting to drive vendors out of business, but insist vending must take place under sanitary and environmentally acceptable conditions, and Bourda Market will not be the last. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. A troubling allegation of victimization and racism surrounding vending at the Leonora Secondary School has rocked social media when members of parliament representing a Partnership for National Unity Ganesh Mahipal posted the story of Angela Isaacs. Marvin Cato will tell you more.
Angela Isaacs, a vendor and single mother of 3, highlighted to Member of Parliament MP Ganesh Mahipal that she is operating a food business in a caravan in the Leonora Secondary School compound in Region 3 for approximately 2 years and was suddenly asked via a phone call and subsequently a letter to vacate the premises due to planned construction works.
The chairman said, you have to move your caravan out of the schoolyard.
She indicated that she checked to verify if any infrastructure work was being done and then reached out to other vendors to inquire if they had received similar instructions or a letter of forceful removal by the authorities. They did not receive such instructions, Isaacs alleged. She said she has constantly been at loggerheads with the school board chairman Shazim Nazaruddin over what she describes as victimization and racism. She said no other vendor experiences what she is experiencing. She said things escalated further when the chairman of the board took over the school's canteen and realized that Isaacs continued to get the support of the children because her meals were mostly well-prepared, hot meals, as compared to what he sells at the very location.
The exact word to me, if you don't move it, the government is going to move it.
She reaffirmed that she stood her ground but compromised where she had to, in the interest of peace. However, the letter of removal, she said, caused her great harm because this is her only source of livelihood. She said of the 4 vendors operating in the school's compound, she is the only Afro-Guyanese, and that has led her to believe that she is being singled out and forced out because of the color of her skin. Isaac said she loves what she does, adding that she intends to serve the student population, which is over 500. Meanwhile, Leonora School Board Chairman Shazim Nazaruddin has disputed claims made by Isaacs. According to him, the board made a decision to improve the space by constructing a vending space that would be available to the said vendors and is expected to be completed in 3 or 4 days. He said they made a decision to improve the aesthetics of the area by constructing the new vending facility. He also stated that the school's board business department, in conjunction with the PTA, are the ones that run and operate the school's canteen, not him. All proceeds, he indicated, goes to the school.
It's any problem with everybody. A letter was issued to the sellers to move, more sellers, to have structure on the area, in the particular area. Nobody contacted me after the letter was issued to them. They came up and gone to the politicians.
When the new claims made by the board chair was put to Isaacs, information made available to Nightly News in the form of audio recordings paints a different picture. Marvin Cato reporting for HGP, Nightly News.
ExxonMobil has fully recovered its investments in Guyana's STABROEK block, enabling the country to receive 50% of the oil produced, significantly enhancing its economic prospects. This was confirmed by Alistair Routledge, president of ExxonMobil Ghana Limited, amid reports that the company has recovered $55 billion of these investments. Antonio Day reports on the oil and gas sector.
ExxonMobil has recovered all its investments in Ghana's STABROEK block, allowing the country to receive 50% of the oil produced there. This announcement was recently made by Chief Executive Officer Darren Woods on July 31, 2026, during the company's earnings call for the second quarter. Alistair Routledge, president of ExxonMobil Ghana Limited, elaborated on the investments during the launch of the 2027 Ghana Energy Conference and Supply Chain Expo. He highlighted successful projects such as Liza Phase 1 and 2, Payara, Yellowtail, Warrow, and Whiptail as part of these investments, which have significantly boosted Ghana's economy. In response to questions posed by Nightly News, the EMGL president highlighted that the capital invested has been effectively deployed to develop these oil fields, with the accelerated repayment possible due to higher oil prices and increased production volumes this year.
It has been well invested, as we've seen, for the revenue streams that are flowing now, and indeed, as we've made clear that indeed with the higher oil prices that we've seen this year and the high oil production, we've been able to accelerate the repayment of those upfront investments that have been made in the STABROEK block.
ExxonMobil has recouped its costs faster than expected, according to Routledge. Importantly, it was affirmed that the government of Ghana has consistently honored its contractual agreement to share profits on a 50-50 basis after cost recovery. This was related by Michael Monroe, Director of Local Content Secretariat, when asked this question by Nightly News.
Of course, if you understand the joint agreement, there is a cap for cost recovery and subsequently profit and others split 50-50. So that has always been the arrangement, and even in light of the payment of the $55 billion, there's still that honoring of the split of profit on others.
In accordance with the 2016 production sharing agreement, the contractor is allowed to deduct 75% of the oil produced monthly to recover its investment. The remaining 25% is then split with Ghana as profits, meaning the country collects 12.5% or 12.5% of profits. After Exxon recovers its investment, the country will be entitled to 50% of the oil produced after the operator takes out operating expenses. ExxonMobil, however, did not say when Ghana's share of the $55 billion will reach its coffers. Antonio De reporting for HGP Nightly News.
Thank you, Antonio. Stay with us. You're watching the HGP Nightly News.
Planning a cleanup? We can help. Sevon's Waste Management skip bins can be provided for home renovation projects, yard cleanup, or construction project. It's simple. Step 1, give us a call. Step 2, we put down the bin. Step 3, load it up with all of your junk. Step 4, we take it away. That's simple. Bins are also available in various sizes, so there is no job that is too big or too small. Call Sevon's Waste Management today at 218-1455.
Smart Minds Educational Institute, offering preschool, nursery, and primary levels. Finally, a school that is every parent's dream. Located at 69 Crow Street, offering academic excellence, trained qualified teachers, small class sizes, personalized care, and one-to-one attention for your little ones. So if your child is for preschool, nursery, or primary level, come to Smart Mind, located at 69 Crow Street, or call 231-4885 or 600-9229 to enroll now.
Honestly, when I first started, I didn't really think of myself as a leader. But then I joined ExxonMobil Guyana, and little by little, year by year, I grew into that role. Watching the next generation learn, then seeing them build their careers in the oil and gas industry and at ExxonMobil Guyana has been incredibly rewarding. Seeing so many young women who remind me of myself when I first started and knowing that I played a small part in their journey is what Build Her really means to me. Build Her, building the future of energy in Guyana.
Thanks for staying with us here in the HGP Nightly News. Antonio Day tells us that Chairman of the Private Sector Commission, Gerald Gavaya, has addressed concerns raised by private water bottling companies about the imminent government-operated water bottling plant potentially diverting customers away from private enterprises. In supporting government's push, Gavaya noted that this initiative should be seen as a collaborative effort for national development, not as a competition.
Some key stakeholders in the private sector, including the Ghana Manufacturing and Services Association, GMSA, have raised concerns about the government's initiative to build a national water bottling facility. Private bottling companies worry the move could divert customers to the government plant, threatening their market share and revenue. However, Gerald Gavaya Jr., chairman of the Private Sector Commission, PSC, took note of those apprehensions and told Nightly News on the sidelines of the event that the water bottling initiative aims to centralize production and possibly reduce costs or simply improve supply chain efficiency.
The formula is that the government is creating the investment landscape, the government is creating the incentives, the government is facilitating the economy's growth, but it's up to the private sector to do the work.
The PSC chairman noted that a collaborative approach is especially relevant as the country faces national challenges requiring united efforts.
So in this case, what we are seeing is that, look, the government wants to solve a national problem. It's a time for us to come together and discuss that. And the good news is that we are doing that.
Gavai shared insights from a recent meeting on the water bottling initiative with Minister of Public Utilities and Aviation, Deedat Indar, which included key private sector stakeholders.
Last week, we met with Minister Indar as a private sector commissioner, and we were able to start developing some frameworks on ways that we can collaborate with government. And I have to say that we're having another meeting this week because of how eager and how committed the government is to working with private sector on solving this national issue.
Gavai noted that concerns from private entities about financial constraints from inter-manufacturing and bartering are being addressed through discussions.
The fact of the matter is that the economy is growing, the market share is growing. And I'm not talking about replacing any of them. In fact, all of them, most of them actually, were in the room while we were discussing the PPP with the government, the public-private partnership with the government. So they're part.
Antonio De reporting for HGP Nightly News.
Stay tuned for regional news.
Fruitopia, Fruitopia, it's a drink that's hype. Citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Guava, pineapple, that give me a vibe. We no want nothing less compared to the rest. Fruitopia the best. Quench any thirst when it comes to the test. Perfect thing for my lunch. Flavors pack a punch. Fruitopia, Fruitopia, it's a drink that's hype. It's citrus punch, fruit punch tastes nice. Fruitopia, the drink that rocks your lunchtime.
Honestly, when I first started, I didn't really think of myself as a leader. But then I joined ExxonMobil Guyana, and little by little, year by year, I grew into that role. Watching the next generation learn, then seeing them build their careers in the oil and gas industry and at ExxonMobil Guyana has been incredibly rewarding. Seeing so many young women who remind me of myself when I first started and knowing that I played a small part in their journey is what Build Her really means to me. Build Her, building the future of energy in Guyana.
Do you live and breathe video? Do you love capturing moments and turning them into powerful visual stories? HGP TV is looking for a talented, energetic, and creative video editor/camera operator to join our growing media team full-time. If you enjoy working in a fast-paced media environment, collaborating with creative teams, and producing high-quality television content, this opportunity could be perfect for you. Send your CV and portfolio or showreel to carolfelix@hgptv.com or melody_piper@hgptv.com. WhatsApp 6571706. If you're passionate about media and ready to create amazing content with us, we want to hear from you.
Good evening and welcome to Wednesday's edition of the Regional News. I'm Antonio De. Here's what you need to know. The heads of the judiciary of several Caribbean community countries Tuesday said they have taken note of recent public reports regarding the administration and functioning of the Trinidad-based Caribbean Court of Justice. In a joint statement, the heads of the judiciary of Barbados, the Bahamas, Belize, Guyana, the Eastern Caribbean, Supreme Court, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago said that the CCJ occupies a position of profound importance as a regional institution and within the regional judicial architecture. Their statement followed a report in the Trinidad and Tobago Sunday Express newspaper claiming that the CCJ President, Justice Winston Anderson, had been accused by a majority of his fellow judges of governing the regional court in an quote-unquote authoritarian and dictatorial manner. The heads say that they remain confident in the Caribbean Court of Justice as a vital regional judicial institution and in the commitment of its judges to principles which underpin the administration of justice throughout the Caribbean. The Regional Judicial and Legal Services Commission, RJLSC, is reviewing allegations against the CCJ's president and will conduct a transparent and independent review. The commission oversees discipline for court judges, excluding the president, and court officials. The RGLSC said it is open to addressing internal complaints within the CCJ. Still with news in the region, Barbados is moving to strengthening border security by giving immigration authorities greater access to passenger information before travelers arrive under new legislation
aimed at detecting security and criminal threats. The Advanced Passenger Information and Passenger Name Record Bill, introduced in the House of Assembly on Tuesday, will establish a system for collecting, processing, storing, and sharing passenger data for people entering or leaving Barbados by air or sea. Home Affairs Minister Gregory Nichols said the legislation would shift Barbados from a largely reactive border security system to one that identifies potential threats before travelers reach the country. The system is intended to help authorities detect suspicious travel patterns and identify people who may pose risk linked to terrorism, organized crime, human trafficking, narcotics, firearms, and fraudulent travel documents. Nichols said that the legislation would also strengthen cooperation with CARICOM and international partners in addressing increasingly transnational criminal activity. The bill, though, includes safeguards aimed at protecting passengers' privacy and preventing discrimination, with passenger data would subject to retention limits, passenger name, record information, depersonalized after 6 months. Data would generally be retained for 7 years before being deleted unless it is connected to an active investigation, threat, or prosecution. Travelers would have the right to access their information, request corrections, and file complaints with a designated data protection officer. Nichols said that the legislation is not intended to create a quote-unquote Big Brother system, but to provide authorities with stronger tools to manage modern border threats while protecting individual rights. And lastly, with international news, global youth unemployment increased in 2025 as weaker economic growth, geopolitical tensions, and sluggish job creation make it harder for young people to find work, the International Labour Organization said on Wednesday, warning that artificial intelligence could add to mounting labour market pressures. The global unemployment rate among 15 to 24-year-olds rose to 12.4% last year from 12.3% in 2023, equivalent to 67 million 15 to 24-year-olds worldwide, according to a new report by the UN Labour Agency. The increase marked a reversal of improvements seen after the COVID-19 pandemic and reflected a deterioration in both the quantity and quality of jobs available to young people and workers, the report said. The ILO said that the share of young people not in employment, education, or training also edged higher to 20%, representing more than 257 million people. Youth unemployment was highest in the Arab states at 26.2%, followed by Northern Africa by 22.6%, the report stated. Across Northern, Southern, and Western Europe, the rate stood at 15%. The agency highlighted the decline of middle-skilled jobs, including clerical, administrative, sales, and manufacturing roles, which have traditionally provided an entry point into the labor market for young people leaving secondary school or university. That has brought us to the end of Wednesday's edition of the Regional News. I'm Antonio Day. Thanks for watching, and do take care. Goodbye for now.
Let's join Delvin Neblet now for HGP's Sports Pulse.
Good evening, Guyana. I'm Delwin Neblet with your HGP TV Sports Pulse for today, Wednesday, August 12, 2026. The Guyana Football Federation and the Guyana Beverages Incorporated are bringing the 4th edition of the KOOL KIDZ Football Festival to boys and girls ages 6 to 11 throughout the month of August. All 9 regional football associations will host 5 days of football activities with new equipment and beverages provided to support the program. The festival promotes fun, inclusion, grassroots development, and a safe environment for young players across Guyana. More in football, the Guyana Football Federation continued its focus on developing young match officials with a national referee training session on August 8 involving emerging referees from across Guyana. The session combined physical and technical training, video analysis, laws of the game discussions, and practical match scenarios. The program reinforces the GFF's commitment to building a strong refereeing pathway and preparing talented officials for progression at the national, Caribbean, CONCACAF, and FIFA levels. Moving into cricket, action continued in the 2026 Bihari Under-19 Schools T20 tournament with the second round of Final 8 fixtures at multiple venues on Monday. At the Walton Hall ground, Essequibo Island secured a dominant 9-wicket victory over Covent Garden as player of the match DeMarcus Thomas picked up 4 for 25 in a winning effort. Abramzoul Secondary also secured a commanding 8-wicket victory over Queen's College on the back of an unbeaten 91 from player of the match Rabbit Fredericks. At the Albion Sports Complex, the Berbice Educational Institute secured a massive 142-run victory over Westside High as player of the match Lemuel de Jong delivered an unbeaten 90, while Annandale Secondary secured a narrow 2-run victory over St. Stanislaus College at the Queen's College ground on the back of 29 runs from Ruel Dindial, who also picked up 1 for 8 in a winning effort. More in cricket action took place in CWI's 2026 Rising Stars Women's Under-19 tournament, with Guyana Under-19 taking on Jamaica at the Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua and Barbuda on Tuesday. Winning the toss and batting first, Jamaica were bowled out for 102 and 19.4 overs as Sashin Ricketts top-scored with 22, and Shanessa Thomas, Denelli Mans, and Christina Jackson each picked up 2 wickets for Guyana. When Guyana responded, they were bowled out for just 82 and 17.2 overs as Akila Stephen top-scored with 18, and Navia Webley was the pick of the bowlers for Jamaica, taking 3 for 19 in the 21-run victory. Finally, in cricket, action continued in the 2026 Caribbean Premier League with the Barbados Royals taking on the Jamaica Kingsmen at Sabina Park in Jamaica on Tuesday. Batting first after being sent in, the Royals reached 206 for 3 of their allotment of 20 overs, as Brandon King top-scored with 73 from 51, and Guyanese Shafin Rutherford remained unbeaten on 50 from 28. When the Kingsmen responded, they were limited to 201 for 9 of their allotment of 20 overs, as Andre Russell top-scored with 68 from 38, and player of the match Daniel Sams was the pick of the bowlers for the Royals, taking 4 for 20 in the keenly contested 5-run victory. That's it for this edition of the HGP TV Sports Pulse. I am Delwyn Neblett reminding you to stay in the game.
Documents reveal repeated defect reports on MV Bereimma months before deadly disaster. NANDLALL says protests have limits, but PPP used similar tactics while in opposition. Vendor alleges victimization and racism at Leonora Secondary School. Board chair refutes claims. Exxon fully recovers $55 billion investment in STABROEK block. Still to say when 50% share will reach GUYANA'S treasury. And in sport, KIDZ Football Festival returns. Those are our major headlines. For these stories and more, please go to our website. It's www.hgptv.com. I'm Travis Chase. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.